I think this would be a good time for me to say that I'm not pregnant. That is not why I'm here. This is not a hint. Not yet, at least. But happy Mother's Day to all of the amazing moms here at Langley, at Cornell, and of course those watching online. I have some amazing moms here next to me this morning. How are you guys feeling?
Good. Happy to be here. Yeah.
How was your morning, Pastor Linda?
My morning was really good. Yeah. I got to share some time. My lovely husband took prayer for me, and that was amazing. He did an amazing job, I heard. And so thank you for that.
Yeah, my morning was really good too. I got blessed with some beautiful flowers from my husband and my kids. Aww. So that was really sweet, and overall it was really quiet. I got up before my kids, which if you know, sometimes that's a blessing to have that quiet time to yourself. So it was good.
Yeah, I did the same. Had a little time earlier, up in the night, because I have a baby, but it was good. Yesterday we celebrated Mother's Day, and it was lovely. We went out for breakfast and went for a walk, and it was great.
It's amazing.
So fun. It's the simple things.
Yeah. Well, we just wanted to, have a raw and real conversation here with you guys. And being a mom is not easy. You guys will have a lot to share later on. And I just want to, have a conversation that a lot of the moms in the audience can relate to. I have a mom, and now being married, seeing that relationship change, and now seeing my mom be a mom to my husband has been such a new thing for me. And she just visited us recently, a few weeks ago. She stayed for a week or so. So seeing her kind of mother my husband now, that was such a special thing for me to say, because she's spoiled us my whole life, right? Like cooking for us and doing all the things, and now I get to watch her do that for him, and it was such a special thing. But of course that changes. So Pastor Linda, you have a daughter who actually just recently had another baby too, right?
That's right. Our youngest grandchild is just almost 4 months now, and we keep in close conversations, and she confides in me a lot, and she's an amazing woman of God. But I know that childhood can be a struggle, especially she has 4 under the age of 6. And her husband is a doctor and spends 6 days a week working and 24-hour shifts. So she has these children a lot on her own. And I just admire those moms that are able to stay home, but I also admire those moms that are working and still managing all of this together. We benefit from each other, and she's such a blessing in our lives, and the grandchildren are such a blessing. But one day she said to me, "Mom, I never ever heard you yell at us." And I went, well, your memory is a little bit wrong, because I am far from perfect, and I did yell. But as children, children are so amazing, they forgive so easily. And I think because when I did do that, I went to them and I apologized and I humbled myself, and but I really believe children are not only a blessing from God, but they change us so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they change us so
they have
much.
To.
Yes.
I've just found so much growth in parenting, like in so many different areas. I've been so stretched, but in all those areas where I'm discipling my kids, I also am discipling myself at the same time. It's not weak to be growing your own faith while you're parenting and growing faith in your kids as well.
It's good. It's true. Yeah.
Well, how do you find that you have to show up for your daughter, who's now a mom of 4? What are some of the wisdom that you've kind of picked up on over the years?
Well, the main thing is I don't give advice. I highly recommend grandmothers don't give advice to your daughters unless they come to you and ask for it. It's different if they're saying, "Hey, I need help here." I don't tell them how to parent.
Yeah. I
believe that what I transferred on to them, they will do, and they will create their own environment.
That's good. Yeah.
It's so important to allow them to make their mistakes and their journey. I don't know how to raise children in this this time. It must be very difficult for I think, when you've got the cell phones, as was said, a cell phone came when our children were teenagers, and it was text only, and there was no internet, and there was no social media. It's very difficult navigating those things nowadays.
Yeah, and I'm sure your daughter really respects and appreciates you having those boundaries, right? Not overstepping and not interfering in things.
Yeah, she's so grateful, and she does confide in me a lot, and so I'm there to build her up. I'm there to be her greatest cheerer, to say, well done, you can do this. Things are difficult, but run to God in those difficult times. Cry out to Him and let Him minister to you. And but I know how often can young moms get a time with the Lord?
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know how others juggle it. I know me, I would run into the washroom for a few minutes. His fingers were under the door. God help me.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, so Cassie, you have little ones. How do you make time for the Lord?
It's tough, and it has to be with them a lot of the time. It's quiet time. We're going to talk a lot on it, but it's the dying to yourself in motherhood, where it's just you see all of these selfish things. And I mean, time with the Lord's not selfish, but it has to look different because your life is different. You're no longer just you. And sometimes that's hard to be like, this is how I want it, but it's just not a reality right now, but that's okay. One day I will miss these little guys running around while I'm trying to read or whatever. So yeah, it is. It's worship, because that way they can kind of be a part of it as well. And just praying out loud. It might not be the same every day. It's not the same length every day, but it's so powerful for them to just see that, because it's just showing them the relationship and where you go to in the morning, at night, whenever it is, to just be like, this is where my help comes from. Yeah. And them being comfortable doing that too. I
think some of the most beautiful memories that I have of my mom is just watching her reading her Bible on like our little dining table that we had. And every time, we were going through problems in the family, that's where she would go to. That was her safe space. And so me as a kid watching that, now I know what kind of a woman and what kind of a mom I want to be, because that was such a good example that she set for myself. So that's beautiful that you get to do that for your kids. Has your relationship with your mom changed, or how is that different now, that you have kids?
I feel like the moment you have your own children, and just going through pregnancy, having a baby, like all those things, you have such a new appreciation for your parents and what they went through, and how you see them and you go, wow, you were really just trying to do the best you could, and there's no manual, and you're just figuring it out day by day. And especially with your first child, that's the first it'll always be the first for everything. As they become a teenager, they're your first teenager, all of that. So I'm so grateful. And my mom was a single mom, so I'm not doing it alone. And it's a lot. So I can only imagine what she had was doing. Yeah.
I think of my mom now that I'm married all the time. Like it could be just like the little most mundane everyday things around the kitchen. Like I'm like, oh, I understand why she used to do that. Like it just, her life and the way she did things just makes so much more sense now. And it's like, daughters, listen, if you're not married, appreciate your mom. Yes. They do things the way they do them for a reason.
It's true. So yeah, it's a new appreciation. And motherhood, just with Linda too, like the fact that you can bless your daughter now and be on the other side, that's such a gift. And just encourage her and love her and be that cheerleader. That's like such a gift, that motherhood just grows, right?
Yeah. Well, and children learn so much better by your example.
Yes.
And you do need to speak life into your children and speak goodness into them. But when you're talking to them, they're going to watch you. Or what are you doing? How do you handle this? Yes. And it's not a perfection. No. It's okay. Let's say Dad and I had a bit of an argument, like a discussion. Arguments should be behind closed doors, and not in front of children, but a discussion. And it gets a little heated. Well, that child is going to want, that's okay, because it's what you do with that.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you going to forgive each other? Are you going to love each other? Are they going to see the conclusion of that as a secure thing,
That
because they know you're not perfect.
Yeah. No, that resolution is so important. So important.
So how do you deal with that, because they are watching everything you do, especially as they get older, right, Jen? I'm sure now that they have words, they can speak, and they can, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so they're definitely watching everything you do. And like Pastor Linda was saying, like, it's not about perfection. We're not here striving for perfection, but in those moments where there are mistakes, it actually does bring us closer to God. It's okay to make mistakes. It's actually good. It does bring us closer to God. And in those moments, that's where our kids are really able to see those actions where we're praying, where we have our Bible open, where we're asking for forgiveness in areas that we need, and praying with our kids and apologizing to them in areas that we need to do that as well. So that's what my husband and I are teaching in our home. Yeah. And we found that that's been such a blessing to them to be able, because if kids listen to your words, they'd brush their teeth the first time you ask them. Let's be real. But I've found that it's all in your actions. They are watching even when you don't think they are. Yeah.
Do you feel this pressure to constantly have it all together and live this perfect life in front of your kids so that they don't pick up on the bad habits and they don't, observe anything negative? How do you?
To some degree, absolutely, yeah. But then you have to give yourself grace, because you are human, and if you've been up in the night, in my case, you're not always, the grace is not always there, and you really gotta ask for it. So yeah, you can't have this perfect expectation, because that's never gonna be a reality. And I think it's having that humility, even with these little kids, they are sponges, and just, it's so important. I want to have humble, I just think of them as men, truly. I know they're babies, but what I want to raise them to be as husbands, and I want them to just have humility in them. That's just who they are, and so that comes from us. So apologizing to your toddlers, it takes that's humbling, Apologizing to a 2-year-old, you're like, Mom was wrong there, sorry buddy. So but it's important.
And I think also in motherhood, just avoiding comparison, that can be a really big one, because now, my grandparents didn't grow up with social media or any online presence, and so they weren't constantly visualizing the next person or the next mother or somebody else's children. Yeah. And so staying away from comparison is a big one. Yeah. Your kids are different from anybody else's. I have 3, and all 3 of them are different from one another. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's really important to stay away from as well.
We had a conversation earlier, and I don't know how people do it without the Lord.
Yeah.
Right? That was one of the things. Yeah. And the thing is, it's in those moments just crying out to Him. Yeah. It's in all those previous times that you've spent in the Word that can come back to you. I remember the first thing I memorized was, I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me, because I had no strength and I needed His to do it all. And, I just admire you ladies. Wow.
Oh, it is. We admire you.
We admire you too, Pastor Linda, and your wisdom and all your knowledge and your grace.
Yeah. Well, and as older women, it commands us in the Bible to teach the younger women. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean point out their mistakes or do those kinds of things, but come alongside of them. We have wisdom that God has given us because we've gone through some of the same things, but not all of them.
No, yeah.
And I really advise women to find a person that you can pray with. Somebody, another like-minded person with small children, or that you can pray with every week. I've always had someone in my life when my children were little, and we got together, whether it was over the phone and they're screaming in the background and I'm hollering, "Be quiet," and which I said, my daughter thought I didn't holler, but but we're praying for them. Just go sit down. We're praying for you right now. But it's encouraging because they're going through some of the same things. But someone that can speak truth into you. You have to be wise on who you pick and who you share with.
But it makes me think of the people who don't have anyone that they can pray with. Yeah. They don't have a community. They don't have the Lord in their lives. What do you do then, right? I think as Christian women and as Christian moms, I think one of the things that we should be mindful of is if we run into people or run into moms specifically that are struggling, and you see that they don't have community, you see see that they don't have anyone that they can pray with, perhaps you are called to be that person
Yeah,
in that moment,
absolutely.
to pray for them, to lead them perhaps to a church, tell them about Jesus, do whatever you can to help, because we just talked about how difficult it is to do it without him.
Yeah.
So
Well, and motherhood can be lonely. It really can, because you're just in a season of life where maybe the people around you, some of your close friends, aren't there yet. And so there's this smaller circle of people who you can even relate to. And then for me, I'm a stay-at-home mom, which I love, and I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to do that. And my husband loves me and supports me in that, and can provide for me to do that. But, it's the little things. You can so easily get kind of down because I want to do these things, or I would love to go see my friends here, or this and that. But it's, life is different now, and you have to fully embrace that in some ways and just take the opportunities and the people that come in. And for me right now, I'm learning like the playground. So going to the playground, and I meet new people, and I've met Christian people, and we start talking, and I'm meeting moms, and I can tell they're worn down, and I'm like, okay, and you speak to each other, and you kind of put life into each other, and you have so much to relate to. And so to what you said, you might be that person that God's placed at the playground to have that conversation, and it may not look like what you hope, but it's what your life is, and God still brings in these people and surrounds you, and it's amazing if you're open to it, right?
yeah, I think we can all, at least try to become a little bit bolder when we meet
Yes.
strangers and say, hey, can I pray for you? I know in the culture that might be weird, but
Sure.
let's try to be bold and pray for people, because prayer is so powerful. You're speaking life into somebody, and
Yeah.
let's not underestimate the power of prayer when we do get to do that. You just don't know how much somebody needs that.
You
in
don't
that
know.
moment, or you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
So
And
just
that's where I'm growing
your
for
comfort
sure.
zone and saying, hey,
Yeah.
can I pray for you?
That's very wise. The thing is, you'll be surprised at how many people say yes, even if they're
Yeah.
not Christians.
I
Yes,
know,
I'd
and
like
I've heard,
prayer.
what's the worst that could happen? They say
say
no
no.
when you pray anyways
Yeah.
on your back. Like, what is the worst that could happen? Because that is somewhere I'm growing. I'm growing in that aspect, and I'm always telling myself that, like, what's the worst that could happen? And there is nothing. And you're still going to pray for them.
Another way to ask somebody is just say, hey, I believe in, a God that can help us. Can I
Yeah.
pray for you? But if not, here, do you mind if I pray for you later? And
Sure.
then it gives them a choice of whether it's not so embarrassing
Sure.
for them.
Yeah.
They will say yes, some of them. I've
Yeah.
prayed for non-Christians all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then they remember you if you see them back again, too.
Yeah.
And they're attracted to that because they're attracted to Him
Yeah.
that is in you.
Yeah. It's so cool.
You talked about comparison earlier, Jen, and I think that's such a tough thing to navigate through in society, because now we have all these moms who are vlogging everything, their perfect life and their perfect morning routines and their perfect nighttime routines. And that's a lot of comparison, because then you see their house looking, perfect and pristine at all times, and you're like, okay, but my house doesn't look like that, and it looks like people actually live here.
Yeah, exactly. Toddlers live here.
How do you deal with that? Like, how comparison must be very difficult, especially when you're...
Yeah.
I think it's just like mentally in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to compare. And it's just like a repetition of telling yourself, like, I'm not going to compare because I don't know what they have going on behind closed doors. I don't know if they have a relationship with Jesus. I don't know how they're raising and discipling their kids. And so oftentimes it takes a lot of just grace on yourself, just realizing that even though things might be portrayed as perfect, they're probably not, and that's okay. And everybody's on their own journey with their own kids who are different from other kids. And I think it's just really calling on God to have that grace in your life in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, checking yourself and being like, okay, what are we doing? No. I'm a mom for these children. This is my house that I'm stewarding. Those are not my responsibility. Like, there's no comparison here. I am the right mother for these children. I think that you can easily do that. Like, oh, am I enough, or am I giving them what they need?
Yeah, I think
it's
just
like,
also
yes,
thinking,
of course you are. You know,
absolutely, because God entrusted you to these
children.
kids.
Yeah,
He's trusted you to raise them up in His way.
Yeah.
And so I think just focusing on that and just looking at the blessing that it is to have these kids that He's entrusted you with and raise them up.
Yeah, and you see those things all the time of, you know, the fingerprints on the fridge and all that. And it's one day I'll miss those fingerprints on the fridge, you know? One day I'll be like begging I hope I'm not begging,
now,
but
right now?
Yeah, no, but one day I'll be wanting to see my kids or wondering where they are. And in this moment right now, I know exactly where they are all the time, and I won't always. So it's just really, I'm preaching, but because I'm not perfect, but it's that perspective of just, wow, these are gifts. And this is such a short time. I'm sure you can hear me when I say that.
So
it goes by so fast.
My oldest one is going to be going into high school come September.
Oh my goodness,
I can't believe that I'm already looking at 13 years almost.
Yeah.
Completely from the day she was born until now. The time flies. Teenager is scary. It is scary. It's a little scary.
Okay, you got this, Jen.
But it's okay because I know that I don't have to be perfect. And it's like true. Cassie said earlier, this is the first time that I'm going to have a teenager.
Yeah.
So I'm coming into a lot of firsts, and I'm going to have to rely on God in all of the seasons ahead.
Yeah, and you've done such a good job in this stage, in the toddler stage, and you know, we've been raising them so intentionally, and you have to trust that they're, you know, that's paid off. And by the time, of course, you're going to have teenager things. They're teenagers, but you know, the root of it, they're grounded, that kind of thing.
And the thing is there are going to be things that you don't know, that you've never approached before.
Yeah.
You know, we may not have the answers, but we know the God that does.
Yeah.
And there's wisdom in searching him out, but also others who've gone through difficult things.
Yeah.
You know, there's been difficulty in my life, but I want everyone to know there's hope.
Yeah.
There is always hope in Jesus.
Yes.
You know, we've had a middle son that walks in addiction. And I know there's many mothers and grandmothers out there that have children that are in that, you know, and there is hope. There is hope.
Yes.
They are, you know, God never gives up.
No.
He will go right to the end because he's the God that goes after them. Amen. But we also, too, during those teenage years, have to slowly let go of our children so that as adults we can let go of them. And that can be difficult, too. But it's, you know, it's a journey, but each journey, there are so many blessings in it. You know, they come out at the end, maybe not right away because they still have a bit of maturing to do, but as you said, how you appreciate your mom now, they will come back and they will appreciate you, and they will be so thankful, and then you can develop friendship. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing with my daughter-in-law and my son-in-law. Yeah. They are our friends as well as my children.
Now,
you know, and it's now you come alongside of them and you holiday together, or you do these things together. And even though you miss all those stages, now you get to do it over with grandchildren.
I know, that's what's so beautiful.
And I wish I could do grandchildren first. Because you know so much more than you did when you first started. But no, it's not the way God planned it, and it's okay.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I love that.
Well, that's a beautiful future to look forward to. I know my relationship with my own mom is and has become a friendship as I've gotten older. Now I'm going to her to ask her questions, or like Cassie said, like the appreciation goes up. It skyrockets once you have your own kids and you realize, wow, my mom went through this. She did this for me. This was hard for her. It's hard for me. And so I love that eventually we do get to a friendship with our kids. And in the meantime, we're just constantly discipling at this age. When they're little, we're sowing those seeds, we're planting them for them so that when they do go off on their own, they know who to run to. They know who they can call on. When finances get difficult, they're going to run to God. If success is not where they want it to be, they're going to run to God. And so that's the work that we're in. And Pastor Linda, like you said to me, motherhood is the highest and hardest calling. Amen. And it is. It really is.
It is.
But it's a blessing too.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of joy that they bring.
There is a ton of joy, yeah.
Well, Pastor Linda, when I'm sure throughout you being a mom and now being a grandma, there may have been times when you've gone through some difficult moments. And how do you stay rooted in your faith? How do you, what are some practical ways that you can keep your trust in God? Because I'm sure there may have been times when you're like, man, like I don't see where God is in this situation. Like, or God, do you even see my struggles? Do you even see what my kids are going through or what I'm going through? How do you stay rooted in your faith? I feel like that would be very difficult to do, especially when you see your children perhaps struggling, right?
You know, I must say, your children can shake your faith. They can shake it, but if you've had an encounter with God, a presence with Him ever in your life, you're never going to fully turn away from Him. There was a time in my life where where something difficult came because of our son and what he was in. And it was nothing that my family had ever faced before, or my husband's family. And so it was something very new when he started into addiction. And I remember just screaming out to God. Like, I'm so glad that God has big shoulders. He knows it. He knows what's inside of you anyway. So why not let it out? And I just remember screaming, literally screaming and crying and begging Him and saying, what's going on? And, He met me there. His presence came to me in a wonderful peace after that. And He said, I love you, daughter. Wow. And I want to help you through this. This is not what I've chosen for your family, but you're going through this. I'm going to come alongside you and be with you. But it took my brokenness for me to be able to hear Him, because it was all about me and what I was going through and everything else. And He is the God of hope. I keep saying that because, I know that hope in Him is never a mistake.
Wasted. No.
Never a mistake. No. And so He meets you in those places, and he guides you and He directs you in those places. If you stay close to Him, if you reveal all to Him, you have to run to Him. And that's all I could do is scream and yell at that point. And I was angry and mad and the whole bit, but He met me there anyway.
So good.
That's so good. Yeah. When He said He will never leave you or forsake you, He meant it. And you just have to trust in that. You just have to remind yourself constantly, you're not alone. He's right there with you. As I'm not a mom yet, right? And so sometimes when I look at moms, I don't necessarily know how to show up for other moms. So what are some of the things that you could tell, to those listening? What would be some helpful sort of takeaways? Like, hey, this is how you show up for whether it's a new mom or somebody who's been a mom for a long time. What's like one thing that you would say? Each one of you can share maybe one thing that you.
I think encouragement. Really, encouragement goes a long way. Just to hear some kind words, just something that's uplifting. Because oftentimes, not all the time, but sometimes we're in the trenches. We're in the thick of it. And sometimes we just really need to be built up in that moment. Like, you're doing a good job. I see you. You're doing amazing. Or compliments about my kids. Your child came to me today. They were so thoughtful. Even teachers from school, when they come back with amazing positive feedback, I'm like, okay, I'm doing a good job. That's reaffirming for me. It's encouraging. So encouragement, I think, is huge. Yeah.
Or just like saying thank you, or little things like that. Like, I appreciate you. Yeah.
And you don't know the day that they had, right? They could have had a horrible day, and then your little compliment that you didn't even think much of just turned it around. I would say that too. And then I know our pillar is honor unlocks potential, but I felt that with motherhood, where it's like when I'm honored, even just my husband, when he really notices something small or whatever, I want to. I'm like a breath of life in me, where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good. If you do just keep going in the trenches, and you don't get you don't do it for compliments, obviously, but it just
encouragement and honor feels good. Yes, you appreciate that. And what about you?
Fruit coming from what I'm doing.
Yes, you feel seen.
That's true, because sometimes days just run into the next, into the next, into the next.
You're doing very mundane
It's monotonous.
things,
Yeah, it can feel like the
so-
same thing every single day. And so
Yeah.
a compliment, like Cassie was saying from her husband, if my husband's like, oh, thank you so much for doing that, I really appreciate you. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, done. Like that was all I needed to hear for the day.
Yeah.
And it does give you a breath of fresh air. It encourages me to complete the day. Because sometimes we're just going hour by hour, depending on the day, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Pastor
I
Linda?
think coming along beside them and just, saying that you care, you love them,
Yeah.
you appreciate them, as you said. But I think one of the main things I would do is pray for them. I don't mean, oh, I'm going to pray for you and all of that.
Right.
Actually pray for them.
Yeah.
Pray for them, because God can do things that we can't do.
Yeah.
And if you keep them in your prayers, I know I've told other people, maybe now I'm going to get lots of these, that if you give me a Christmas card with your picture on it, you get prayed for very often, because I stick them in a place where I see them.
I'll be sending mine
and it's
over.
a reminder, and
I like that.
it's just a short prayer.
Sure.
But I didn't say that so that I would get some.
Well, now you got lots.
Well, I think as you guys are talking, I'm thinking if you don't know how to encourage somebody, or if you don't know how to honor somebody, or if you don't know how to pray for somebody, just show them grace. That would be like my thing is just think of ways that you could be gracious,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah.
show them
And
grace when you don't know what to
practically,
do.
too, like for a mom with a baby, like sometimes every mom's different. So I'll just speak from me. I like holding my babies. So I want to hold my baby. So it's kind of, some
Good thing.
people want to hold the baby, and that's fine. But I think too, if you're visiting, if you see dishes, just do them.
Yes.
Don't ask, just do them. That's something that I'm growing in, is asking for things. But I think just as a mom too, when you're in the thick of it and hormones and all that, you don't even know what you need or want.
Yeah.
So you're still meeting yourself again. So I think you kind of just need to give grace, and just, if you see something, do it. I know I had a friend who came and brought me food, and she hung out with me a bit, and there was just no expectations. It felt so relaxed. And then she noticed there was a dish next to me, and she just took it. And I remember that. And like, it's those things where it's like, she's looking out for me. Like, she's just cleaning and walking around and doing, and that's.
And you're getting to spend more time with your baby, which you wouldn't be able to do if you're busy cleaning.
Yeah,
So
and
that-
for the husbands too, like, they're doing a lot because mom's busy. So it helps him too. And so yeah, you will hold the baby, but you can also help.
That's a good one.
So practically.
Yeah. I think, sorry, Coach.
It's okay. And I think it takes a village to raise children.
Yes.
It's really important to plant yourself in a church, because there are other like-minded people there, and plant yourself in a church that is going to be beneficial, that is going to raise your children up in the same values that you may have.
Yes.
I find I often question, how do you raise your children nowadays? Like, as an example of a phone, like 11-year-olds are asking for phones. What do you do with that? And not all Christians have the same standard. So how do you handle those? Or maybe you allow your child to do something that another child wouldn't. How do you manage those things?
I know, that's where I'm growing. So that's a you thing.
Yeah, no, that's totally a me thing. So my oldest one had a phone for a short period of time, and I very quickly caught on how bad that was for her. We ended up taking it away very quickly. There was no social media presence on there for her, but even just having it, like just having that way around with like text messages and things like that, I found were not good for her mindset. She started focusing on, oh, does my friend like me? I don't know if she responded this way because she's upset with me.
Oh, wow.
And it would be super consuming for her. She'd be constantly thinking about it. And I think kids are figuring out their emotions already as it is, and then when you implement something like a cell phone at a young age, I find that it disrupts their day. It adds in more emotion. It adds in more for me to have to work on with her and parent on. And so we realized very quickly that was not a good thing for her, and it was removed immediately. But yeah, it is definitely, it comes in the category of comparison for them too. right? Because sometimes their friends are going places that they're not going, or friends are doing things that maybe my children are not allowed to do. So I found navigating that was a little bit challenging, but God has grace in that area, and He gave me discernment very quickly and showed me that this was not something for a child to be able to be responsible for at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when you become the parent and not the friend.
Yeah.
And I think some people are still trying to be friends to their kids.
No, it's true. There's a stage where you can be friends, but there's a long period where you cannot be because it can get unhealthy. Yeah.
Do the kids ever come home from like school and they pick up, things that their friends are saying, and then you're like, whoa, we don't do that?
My kids are pretty good. I feel that there are certain circumstances. My kids are in a public school setting, and so oftentimes that's also challenging because you're with such a vast variety of different children from different homes. For the most part, they're pretty good, but oftentimes I will find a Bible verse and I will sit down and I will go over it with them. My son was being I'm calling him out, a little bit unkind the other day with his words towards me. And so we had sat down and gone over a Bible verse, and we talked about every single word in that verse and what it meant, like compassion, patience, humility. And I explained to him each of those things, and I kind of brought him back and asked him, do you think when you're talking this way, are you representing Jesus? When you're talking to me, I want you to work on these words and what they mean to you. And so oftentimes we just do that, or we'll pray together. I'll even pray over him together, and he enjoys that. And then it'll even go further sometimes. Okay, we've done our little lesson, we've done our prayer, and then he'll want to read something else in the Bible. So then we'll turn it into something else, and we'll move on from it.
He's going to remember those special times, not only
Yeah.
because you're giving him the word, but I think because of the closeness that he'll feel with you because you took the time to spend time with him.
Yeah.
When he asked the questions. That is so important as they become teenagers. I remember Pastor Bruce, when he hits the pillow, he's asleep like that. So I'm the one that always stayed up and waited home till the children came home. And they always came into the bedroom. And that's when my daughter, at 12 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, after she'd been here or there, and she would just sit and talk for hours.
I've heard, yeah.
And they always pick the times when you're busy. That's when they want to talk as teenagers.
I remember doing that to my mom. I remember she would be in bed, and I would creep in and open her door, and like she would still be a little bit awake, maybe watching a show, and I would fully disrupt her rest, her show, whatever she was doing.
remember that.
And I remember
those
sitting
times.
there, and and it was always so late at night. It would just be.
It's what's up with that?
I don't know what it is.
Our brains are just ready.
Are we just like wired
time?
at that time?
Well, there's medical
I'm sure
things
there
that go
is.
along with it. That teenagers and stuff, they do want to stay up later.
Right.
Their body wants to stay up later, but it needs more sleep
right?
than they actually needed as preteens.
Right.
And so that's why they sleep till noon.
right. Right. Yes. Yeah.
So, Cassie, I know you have little ones, and what are there times when it's loud and a lot going on, and you're overstimulated, and you just
yes.
how do you center yourself in those moments?
Well, yes, there are. And I think, too, on a practical note, there are things you can do in those moments where, like, there's certain things you can't control. Toddlers are toddlers, and sometimes it's good for them to get some energy out and be a little rowdy. But then there's things like, okay, music's on. Maybe we'll turn that off because it's just another layer of noise.
Yeah.
So things like that, like evaluating the room and being like, what can I change here? Because this is a bit much. Yeah. But then something that I've done that is kind of funny, but I think it's also a good practical thing to do is in those moments, I turn to my husband and it's like chaos. There's things everywhere. Kids are running. Kids are asking, like right now it's my 2.5-year-old is outside, like eat dinner and then outside. It's like there's just no breaks, no pauses. And so it was chaos. And I just made eye contact with him and I was like, thank you, Jesus. thank you, Jesus, for these children. Thank you, Jesus, for this
Gratitude.
home.
Oh, that's
Just gratitude,
good.
and just preaching, just because it is.
Do you believe it?
In those moments, you can have horrible thoughts about things and people, right? So I think in those moments, that's the enemy being like, you know, you're losing touch with these gifts that they are, and they're alive, and they're healthy, and they're excited, and they're learning, and it's a beautiful thing. But you can so easily, when you're tapped out, not see it that way. So it's kind of just like coming against those thoughts in your mind, and just, again, the power of your tongue, and just taming what you may want to say, and saying what may be hard, but it's the truth. Thank you, Jesus. And so anyways, I looked at him and he just started laughing. Because
You're probably like, I prayed for this. I wanted this.
all this, like, that's the thing. It's like, I prayed for this life. Anyone who knows me knows I always wanted to be a mom. I prayed for this life, and I'm not going to let the enemy make me say
Think otherwise.
things that isn't how I feel. So, and these are kids I want to pour life into all the time, and I
really
want
good.
them to be happy and woo and wanting to go outside. That's great. So
It's like when you see a sink full of dirty dishes, it's like, well, my family's fed. We have
Yes.
food at home.
Exactly.
That's a good thing.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What's one thing that you would like to say to moms out there listening?
That's wow.
Well, I think that we don't need to be perfect. God gives us our daily bread every single day. Every single day that we wake up, He's giving us that grace. And so don't worry about the perfection. The kids are not watching for perfection.
No.
They just want your consistency and your love.
That's good. Yeah, love and that compassion. And I think in my case with such young kids, I'm seeing the benefit of pouring into them now because they're so young. And if you can be so intentional and just pour in God's word in them when they're so young, I mean, Judah kind of can say the Lord's Prayer already, and he's 2.5, because we repeat it after each other, and like their minds are just ready to be filled up with all this information. We may as well just fill them up with God's word and the truth, and however you can do that. And it's never too late. I think that even when they are school aged, you just start doing these things with your kids, and they don't even know what you're doing, but you're sowing these seeds. And I've just seen the fruit of it already with a toddler. So I think that's my biggest, just wherever
That's
you
good.
can. You may think it's small, but then the next day they'll say it right back to you. And whenever we get a boo-boo, it's Jesus heal. And I'm like, absolutely, buddy. Like that's where his mind goes when he gets hurt. He's like, Jesus will heal me. It's okay.
Love that.
So it's powerful.
I love that.
Well, I just want to say you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
I really appreciate all the mothers out there, all the grandmothers out there, and all the mothers to be. You know, God loves you, and just keep going. Just keep going. Seek Him out, and
Yeah.
just keep going. God gave you those children
Yeah.
for a reason. He knows which parents should have which children, and yeah, they're just blessings, and so are you all.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, it is Mother's Day, so I'm sure a lot of you have plans afterwards. So we will keep this panel short, and we'll let you guys go home early. But we will use this time to take our offerings. If if you feel blessed by this, if you appreciate what this ministry has to offer, we're going to show you ways that you can give.